Hello, wonderful people, and welcome back to Farmyard Care. Just look at these beautiful chickens. If you raise birds at home, you already know how valuable they are. They give us fresh eggs, help control pests around the yard, and bring a kind of daily joy that only a happy flock can offer. But let's be honest for a moment. Have you ever looked at your monthly feed bill and felt that heavy sigh come out before you even realized it? Feed prices keep climbing, and for many small farmers and backyard chicken keepers, feed can take up 60 to 70% of total production costs. That makes every bag of feed matter. And sooner or later, we all start asking the same question. Is there a better way to give our chickens good nutrition without draining our wallet? What if the answer has been floating quietly in front of us all along? What if one tiny green plant could help reduce your feed bill by 30 to 40% while still giving your flock something nutritious and natural? That little green secret is called Azolla. It may look small, but for anyone raising chickens, it can be a powerful tool. Today, we're going to explore what Azolla is, how to grow it, how to feed it safely, and why it can become such a valuable part of a more self-sufficient homestead. So if you're ready to grow your own free chicken food, let's get started. Part 1. What is Azolla? The miracle fern sow. What exactly is Azolla? At first glance, it may look like nothing more than a soft green layer floating on the surface of a pond. Some people know it as duckweed fern, mosquito fern, or fairy moss. But don't be fooled by its tiny size. This is not just pond scum. Azolla is a living aquatic fern with a very special ability. The real secret is that Azolla does not grow alone. Inside its leaves lives a lifelong partner, a type of blue-green algae or cyanobacteria called Anabaena azollae. And this matters a great deal when we talk about feeding chickens because that tiny organism works like a natural fertilizer factory. It pulls nitrogen directly from the air and makes it available to the fern. Because of this powerful relationship, Azolla can grow extremely fast. When the water, sunlight, and nutrients are right, it can double its biomass in just 2 to 5 days. Imagine planting a vegetable in your garden and seeing it double by the weekend. That is why farmers have valued Azolla for centuries, especially in countries like China and Vietnam, where it has long been used to enrich rice paddies. Today, we can take that same natural power and use it to support our backyard flocks. Part 2. The nutritional powerhouse. Why chickens love it now? The next question is simple. If Azolla grows that fast, is it actually good for chickens? The answer is yes, and that is why it has become so interesting for small farmers and poultry keepers. Azolla is more than just a green filler. It is a dense source of nutrition. When dried, Azolla can contain around 25 to 35% crude protein, which is very impressive for a green plant. Protein is important for growth, egg production, muscle development, and overall flock strength. But Azolla does not stop there. It also contains important amino acids such as lysine and methionine, both of which play a key role in healthy growth and strong feather development. It is also rich in useful minerals like calcium, phosphorus, potassium, iron, and magnesium. On top of that, Azolla provides vitamin A, vitamin B12, and beta-carotene. If you have ever seen eggs from free-ranging hens with deep orange yolks, you already understand the value of natural pigments like beta-carotene. Feeding Azolla can help support richer yolk color and improve the overall nutritional quality of the eggs. It even contains omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids. So when you give Azolla to your chickens, you are not just trying to cut costs. You are offering them a fresh, green, natural feed that can support better health, better eggs, and a stronger flock. Part 3. The economic and environmental impact, saving your wallet, and the planet. Now let's look at the bigger picture, because Azolla is not only about nutrition. It is also about independence. Anyone who has raised chickens for a while knows that feed costs can decide whether a small flock feels affordable or stressful. When you grow Azolla at home, you begin producing part of your own feed instead of depending completely on store-bought bags. Studies and practical experience from farmers show that Azolla can replace up to 20% of commercial chicken feed when used correctly. Some estimates suggest it may help reduce overall feed costs by 30 to 40%. For a backyard farmer, that difference can be significant. It means more money stays on the farm, and your flock still receives a valuable source of nutrition. But Azolla also has environmental benefits. This little fern is known for its ability to capture carbon dioxide, and it has even been linked by scientists to major cooling events in Earth's ancient history. On a smaller farm scale, that reminds us how powerful simple natural systems can be when we use them wisely. A thick layer of Azolla on water can also help reduce mosquitoes by blocking access to the surface, making it harder for them to lay eggs. So with one small plant, you can support your chickens, reduce feed pressure, improve your self-sufficiency, and create a cleaner, more balanced farm environment. That is the kind of practical farming solution worth paying attention to. Part 4, Step by Step. How to grow Azolla at home all right. Now that you know why Azolla is so useful, the next question is, how do you actually grow it at home? The good news is you do not need an expensive system or any complicated equipment. A simple shallow pond, tub, or line pit can be enough to get started. Step 1. Choose the right location. Azolla grows best in partial shade. If it gets too much harsh, direct sunlight, the plant can become stressed and turn reddish-brown. But if the area is too dark, growth will slow down. A good spot is one that receives about 25 to 50% sunlight, such as under light tree shade or in a protected corner of the yard. Step 2. Prepare the pit or container. You can use an old kiddie pool, a plastic tub, or dig a shallow pit in the ground. A practical size is about 2 meters long, 2 meters wide, and 20 centimeters deep, or roughly 6 by 6 feet. The most important thing is to keep the base level so the water spreads evenly. Step 3. Add the lining. If you are using a pit, line it with a durable plastic sheet, such as a silpoline sheet, so it can hold water properly. Secure the edges with bricks or stones to keep the sheet from shifting. Step 4. Create the nutrient bed. This is where your Azolla gets its strength. Spread about 10 to 15 kilograms of clean sieved soil evenly across the bottom. Then mix about 2 kilograms of fresh cow dung, preferably 4 to 5 days old, into 10 liters of water. Add about 30 grams of superphosphate fertilizer, stir it well, and pour the mixture into the pit. Step 5. Add clean water. Fill the pond with fresh water until it reaches about 10 to 15 centimeters deep. Do not make it too deep because the Azolla roots may not reach the nutrients below. But do not make it too shallow either, or the roots can grow into the mud and make harvesting difficult. Step 6. Add the Azolla culture. Gently spread about 500 grams to 1 kilogram of fresh, pure Azolla across the surface of the water. If the conditions are right, within 10 to 15 days, that small starting amount can spread into a thick green cover across the pond. Part 5. Harvesting, feeding, and best practices. Once your Azolla has covered the surface, the most important habit is regular harvesting. Do not let it sit there and become too thick. When Azolla overcrowds itself, the plants start competing for light, and parts of the mat can weaken or die. Harvesting every day, or at least every other day, keeps it growing fresh and productive. From a standard pit, you can usually collect around 500 grams to more than 1 kilogram of Azolla each day, depending on the condition of the pond. That may not sound like much at first, but over time it becomes a steady supply of fresh green feed for your chickens. Before feeding it, always wash it properly. Since cow dung was used in the nutrient base, the Azolla may carry some odor, and many chickens will reject feed that smells strange. Use a plastic strainer and rinse the harvested Azolla in clean water 3 or 4 times until it looks and smells fresh. When offering Azolla to your flock for the first time, do not expect every chicken to rush in immediately. Chickens can be cautious with anything new, especially green feed they have never seen before. Start by mixing fresh Azolla with their regular commercial feed at a 1:1 ratio. After a week or two, most birds will accept it well, and you can begin feeding it more directly. For laying hens, Azolla can comfortably replace up to about 20% of their daily protein intake when used correctly. That means every morning, instead of relying only on purchased feed, you can add a fresh, green, nutritious supplement that you produced right on your own farm. Part 6. Overcoming challenges and mistakes to avoid now. I want to be honest with you. Azolla is easy to grow, but it is still a living crop, and like anything on the farm, it needs attention. If you understand the common problems early, you can avoid most failures. First, be careful with water quality and contamination. Azolla is a hyperaccumulator, which means it absorbs substances from the water around it. This can be useful when cleaning water, but it becomes dangerous if you are growing feed for animals. If the water contains heavy metals like lead or cadmium, the Azolla can absorb them. So never use polluted wastewater for Azolla that will be fed to chickens or other livestock. Clean well water or rainwater is the safer choice. Second, watch for pests. Snails, caterpillars, and some insects enjoy Azolla just as much as poultry do. If you notice the mat being damaged or eaten quickly, avoid chemical pesticides. A better option is neem cake, which works as an organic fertilizer and also helps repel pests naturally, while remaining suitable for a livestock feeding system. Third, pay attention to disease. One of the biggest problems with Azolla is Pythium root rot, a water mold that often appears during cold, damp weather or after heavy rains. If the roots become dark brown, greasy, or the plants suddenly begin dying, Pythium may be the cause. To reduce the risk, do not allow the Azolla mat to become too crowded. If the infection becomes severe, the best solution is to empty the pond, clean everything properly, and start again. Also remember that Azolla needs regular nutrient support. Add a small amount of cow dung, slurry, and superphosphate every 2 weeks, and change about 25% of the water every 10 days to prevent too much nitrogen from building up. With clean water, steady harvesting, and simple maintenance, your Azolla pond can stay productive throughout the year. Conclusion: farming and homesteading are not just about raising animals or growing plants. They are about learning how to work with nature instead of fighting against it. When you grow Azolla, you are not only reducing feed costs, you are taking more control over your food system, giving your chickens natural nutrition, and building a more sustainable rhythm on your farm. There is something deeply satisfying about producing your own resources from scratch. Even a small tub of Azolla can remind you that good farming does not always require big money. Sometimes it begins with one simple green plant and the willingness to try. So here is my challenge for you. Start a small Azolla tub this weekend. Keep it simple, observe it closely, and see how your flock responds. Over time, you may find that this tiny green fern becomes one of the most useful feed supplements on your homestead. What alternative feeds are you already using for your chickens? Have you tried duckweed, fodder trees, or other natural feed sources? Share your experience in the comments, because this community grows stronger when we learn from one another. If this video was helpful, give it a thumbs up, share it with other poultry keepers, and subscribe to Farmyard Care for more practical tips on sustainable and joyful farming. Until next time, keep your hands dirty, keep your flocks healthy, and keep growing.